Trade, economy, defence and cultural cooperation were the main topics of discussion between Prime Minister Modi and Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud during the latter's state visit. During the high-profile meeting at Delhi's Hyderabad House, the two leaders co-chaired the first leaders' meeting of the Strategic Partnership Council, a bilateral agreement between India and Saudi Arabia signed by the two nations in Riyadh in 2019. For India, Saudi Arabia counts as one of its closest and biggest strategic partners, is what the Prime Minister said. India-Saudi Arabia partnership is crucial for stability, welfare of the region and the world. As far as the G20 is concerned, we've also seen a huge presence of Saudi Arabia over there.
There is cooperation to build the future of our country and create opportunities. Today we're working on the future opportunities. There is a huge agenda to be working with. We are working through this council to achieve these accomplishments, and these are promising. And I congratulate you on the management of the G20 summit and the initiatives achieved, including the economic corridor linking the Middle East, India and Europe, which require that we work diligently in order to create it into a reality. Indians in Saudi Arabia had a large part in the economic growth of Saudi Arabia. Today they are 7% of the population of Saudi Arabia, and we consider them to be a part of Saudi Arabia. We watch and take care of them like we take care of our own citizens. We hope that this council will meet the aspirations of our people, and we wish us success.
Joining us now to focus on the India-Saudi Arabia relationship, I'm joined by Dr. Shubhda Chaudhary, editor for the Centre for India and West Asia Dialogue. Thanks, ma'am, very much for being with us. Dr. Omer Anas, director for the Centre for India West Asia Dialogue in New Delhi. And very happy to have with us Professor Zikrur Rehman, the former ambassador and director of the India Arab Centre. Let's start with the big news on the possibility of, in fact, it's not a possibility, it's going to happen, a massive mega economic corridor between Europe and India. Firstly, let's talk about the basics. How exactly, sir, is it going to work?
This is a game-changing thing which is going to happen in the last many years. Especially the region has been attracted by the Chinese BRI. And many countries, India was saying that they are easily connected with them, and they were being promised with huge benefits of the BRI. But these benefits did not come as they were expected. So in the last few years, India and Middle East trade, especially non-oil trade, has expanded much. And with this in view, India and Europe relations, India and Middle East relations, and especially India's fine balancing between India, Saudi Arabia, all the Arab countries and Israel has also worked very well. So it was an opportunity for both India and West Asia, especially the Arab countries, to have a connectivity project in which all countries can play a role in a way that also answers, or which also reduce the dependency of smaller countries on this Chinese project. So this is happening in a way that is democratizing the trade space among the countries which was dominated by China.
Sure. Let me just get you in on this, sir. In simple terms, what does this imply? Are we looking at fuel flows coming into India? Are we looking at a more stable internet through undersea cables? What exactly, how exactly will this work for us?
No, this is not energy or internet, etc. Let me tell you what exactly. It is basically the revival of spice route. If you see that in the past, there was a route that Indian spices, Indian silk, and Indian pearls were being purchased by the Arabs, and the Arabs were taking it from India to their own country, and from there they were exporting it to Europe. This was exactly the system that was flowing. It was only in the 19th century that the Britishers had tried to take in their own hand, and they tried to be intermediary, and instead of directly having a trade between India's Arab world and Europe, they had taken and they had controlled it.
Right.
So, so it is just a revival of the old spice route in order to ensure that all the trade, it is not only the energy, all the trade that starts from India, all the trade which are there in the Middle East or in West Asia, So we should continue and we should start again, reintroduce the same thing. See how from India the whole thing will go, or the Indian products, Indian producers will go from here to United Emirates, and from UAE it will go to Saudi Arabia, from Saudi Arabia to Jordan, from Jordan to Israel, Haifa, and from there to European countries.
So just to be sure, it's data to oil, gas to goods. So it is all of these.
It is all of these.
Right.
It is all of these.
So it's more than just the original spice route. It's very substantial in terms of what it proposes.
Yes. So now, of course, with the new things that are coming up, so it is more than that. Energy is a part of that.
So that's what I was pointing out. So, ma'am, what else, in specific terms, would India stand to gain from this, and vice versa?
So the first question, I think, why did it happen?
Yeah.
And the timing of it. So when China was involved in creating a rapprochement or easing out the tension between Iran and Saudi Arabia, that is when the NSA advisors of US, India and all met and decided that there has to be an economic corridor, along with a new Quad in the Middle East or West Asia, which includes Israel. In the new Quad, it will be Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, if there is a peaceful part of Abrahamic Accords, then the I2U2. Now, what exactly is this happening for? First, the diaspora of India, 2.6 million Indians who are there in Saudi Arabia, connected. The Gujarat coast will be connected to the coast of Jeddah. It is costing an investment of $18 billion. Along with it, the natural hydrogen clean energy cables that would be set up underground, which would be connecting the Indian Ocean, because, as I said before, that the ripples of what happened in the South China Sea, all the regional powers and superpowers are scared about it. And the third most important thing is that in today's effort, in today's day and time, when US is trying to take a step back from West Asia in terms of military, it still needs to create some kind of power which is not geopolitics but geoeconomics in today's term. So these are very essential when it comes to navigating what it means, and it's going to make a massive investment for India, as well as all the countries that are involved, because it is also the emergence of a world which does not or would not like to trade in dollar. It is also the emergence of a world which is much more multipolar, much more symbiotic, realist in nature, and also the identities and interests of people, much more of fluidity when it comes. In a world which is now fighting for economic protectionism, it is trying to create its own narrative.
Sure. Yeah. Dr. Anas, what I find interesting is also what the US President had to say. And I quote, "This is a big deal. This is really a big deal, a game-changing regional investment, building sustainable, resilient infrastructure, making quality infrastructure investments, and creating a better future, a future that presents far greater opportunity." You know, when we talk about resilient supply chains, it's a phrase which is used for everything, from semiconductors to fuel, etc., etc. But this is actually ensuring that a lifeline, the economic lifeline which exists between India and several of the countries we've discussed, is protected, right, and enhanced.
First of all, I think that what we need to understand is that India is going to be the central country of this entire project. India is going to be the hub of all things will be produced here. China used to be and still dominates the entire supply chain. So any brief disruption in this supply chain can question the food security to everything. So replacing, I'm not going to say that India can replace China immediately, but we indeed need a country where other countries can rely more. So India is going to be that kind of a place for the entire region, especially for West Asia, and from West Asia to European countries. So in this sense, yes, what we are going to become and what this project is going to become is to provide a secure and resilient infrastructure from food security to other infrastructure, including digital infrastructure, which we are talking about. So in this sense, this project is indeed, as President Biden has also said, game-changing.
So what I find interesting is that if you look at maritime safety and security, and which is incredibly linked with economic prospects, the Chinese have already got a base in Djibouti. They're looking to step up and create infrastructure. They already are in Gwadar in Pakistan. India is countering that with an investment in Chabahar in Iran. And now India is perhaps countering that with the creation of this linkage with Jeddah directly. So therefore, could you tell us a little bit about the maritime domain? How this is part of an effort at controlling the growth of China in the Indian Ocean region?
Look, it's not only controlling the growth of China. What we are looking, we as Indians, we are looking is the larger Indian interest, basically.
Sure.
Our larger interest is that our maritime links should be with the West Asia as well as with Europe. Now, in the past also we had, through the Red Sea, the trade. If you see thousands of years back, Indian pearls and Indian, precious stones were being exported to Egypt during the Pharaoh's time. So there was a maritime trade between India and the Red Sea countries. So this is an old thing. The only thing is, as I have very right from the beginning, I'm saying that we should not see it as a new initiative in order to see. We should see it as a revival of this initiative.
So, Dr. Chaudhary, could you tell us a little bit about how there are changed geopolitics now in West Asia, also with Israel? The relationship between, for example, the UAE and Israel is changing. It is, and I think India has a small stake in that, in the evolution of that relationship. It's unthinkable. The status today and what it was even, 3 years ago. How is that actually the cog that needs to be sorted for this to really work?
It is very important because, as you know, the Middle East food corridor, which is going to be established, in which both Israel and UAE, along with India and US, are involved, it is very essential because this entire region is in the desert, and the food security is very, very, the tensions over there are very palpable. With the Ukraine-Russia conflict, it is the amount of rice that they import, the cost of it has gone very high. Now, coming to how India, for the past, since Prime Minister Modi's decoupled visit to Israel and Palestine separately, India has not only in intelligence, military and technical alliances with Israel, but also in agriculture, food imports, organic farming, created a certain kind of bilateral paradigm with Israel. With UAE, India is the largest partner trading. So it's very, very essential that both of them come together and they are able to navigate these, specifically through the Indian Ocean, the power balancing properly. Because as you said, along with Jeddah, India is also investing a lot in Tanzania and Zanzibar. So Mauritius, Madagascar and your entire eastern coast of Africa, all of them are very important when it comes to this entire navigation. Now, we have always been known for creating peace in the domain, for harnessing or not being aligned to any power zone. By being a silent broker or being a mediator silently in these kinds of deals, we are getting a higher leverage when it comes to geopolitics. But at the same time, India is trying to become a regional power hub in the South Asian region itself. We are selling Bharat 52 artillery missiles to Saudi Arabia. Larsen & Toubro has gained $4 billion contract in Saudi Arabia. We are investing a lot in this entire paradigm, which is changing its face. The geopolitics of emotions are now changing into much more practical insights of how, along with soft power, artificial intelligence, digital free zones, and the entire navigation of technology can help in countering the Western-oriented approach at which, or the Orientalist approach at which all these countries were always looked at.
Dr. Anas, let's just break this down a little bit more. With undersea pipelines, what are we looking for? We are looking for the flow of crude from the Middle East to India. I mean, as I understand it, resilient infrastructure networks as well. And then there is the rail link. Is India going to have a role in the construction of the rail network? If so, I mean, it's a mega project.
Definitely. India has a big stake in building infrastructure in the entire Persian Gulf region. Of course, there was and Iran-Pakistan-India pipeline, which has been left because of impractical issues which were involved there. So India sought some alternative ways, and this is one of them. Because the Persian Gulf and especially the Gulf nations are the fastest growing region in entire West Asia, and especially in terms of non-oil GDP also they are growing much, and India is the fastest growing economy in Asia, in South Asia. So if these two regions are going to be linked and coming closer, so these two economies are going to be integrated.
Sure.
So this integration of two economies is going to create a new reality in all domains, from food security to digital infrastructure to trade and non-oil trade, and of course security, which is one of the most important things, which I think the Western world really needs that India play an important role in securing the region.
Sure. We'll just take a short break at this stage. It is a fascinating project, an economic link between a direct one between Europe in the west, India to the east. But I think when we talk about India and Saudi Arabia, there's a lot more in this relationship. It's a historic relationship. So we'll come back with a few more details of where that relationship stands. Welcome back. We're looking at our special program, Connecting Countries. We're talking about India and Saudi Arabia. It's a historic relationship, a relationship ultimately built on people in Saudi Arabia and in India. There's that historic link with the Hajj, of course, Professor Rahman. But the role of Indian immigrants to Saudi Arabia is also something that we need to talk about. The transfer of wealth, investment from Saudi Arabia through NRIs to India is huge, absolutely. True. So two aspects of my question. There's the Hajj, number one, and number two, the role of Indians in helping to be a part of and in building Saudi Arabia.
Well, Hajj has always played an important role in strengthening ties between India and the Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the Arabian Peninsula is the biggest peninsula, and Saudi Arabia has the huge weight like in the subcontinent India has. That is one. Number two is that the pilgrims which were going right from the beginning of the Islam till now, today we have around 175,000 only Hajj pilgrims which go each year. And then there are around 200,000 Umrah pilgrims, which is a semi-Hajj, as you can say it. Mm-hmm. So 300 to 400,000 every year they go to Mecca and Medina and to Saudi Arabia. And there are a lot of, it brings a lot of economic prosperity even in Saudi Arabia to the traders, to the businessmen and all those things. So therefore these relations have always played an important role in strengthening the bilateral relations between the two. Indian community, of course, has participated. What we see today, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the contribution of Indians, Indian engineers, Indian scientists, Indian doctors, Indian paramedics, the huge contribution by them to see to ensure the progress and prosperity of Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
So they have really participated in that. We had, Ibrahim Al-Qazi, who was the first director of NSD. He was a Saudi national.
Right.
So he had, his contribution to Indian art, Indian theatre, is huge.
No, absolutely. So that historic link, so very important. Would you like to tell me a little bit about futuristic cities? Because in as much as we value the past, let's talk about the future as well. Either the city of NEOM is a city which is being developed. Saudi Arabia has a real vision of its cities, a real idea. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Go ahead, sir.
Let me say, first of all, India and Saudi Arabia relations have been quite strong even from before Islam as well. And very historical relations. Yeah. And I must also say that we as Indians, and of course in Saudi Arabia, we have not paid much attention to research these relations, how strong they were. From here, what we can say is that Saudi Arabia and especially the Crown Prince vision for 2030 to rebrand Saudi economy. What I say that Saudi Arabia is trying to make a post-oil economy. Saudi Arabia does not want to rely, does not want to be dependent and vulnerable to oil economy, because the entire energy economy is changing. So these futuristic cities, be it NEOM or other cities which Saudi Crown Prince is planning to build, are going to play an important role in bringing out a new Saudi Arabia, which will be, I should not say it will be, they will be similar to Dubai, but they will indeed be based on skill-based, knowledge-based economy, and a new kind of knowledge economy which is going to emerge in the desert.
Sure. So, ma'am, since I'm running out of time, could you tell me a little bit more about these futuristic cities like NEOM? What do they aspire to be?
So what exactly is the meaning of NEOM? So neo is a Greek word which means that paradise or new paradise, and M is from the Arabic word muktalab, which is the future. They have already invested 400 billions in the formation of this city. It will be larger than the size of Israel or Kuwait. They are going to have helicopters which are made by Germany, which are personal air taxis. They are expecting 12 million Indians to start coming to, because tourist visas are now available easily. Apart from that, there will be no carbon footprint. There will be no cars, zero carbon emissions, green hydrogen plants will be fulfilled, and all of these are the visions that they are going to have.
No cars?
No cars, only helicopters. Now the point is, NEOM and other cities which are in the hindsight of the development of Saudi Arabia and MBS project the future, which is obviously they are very aware of the depletion of oil resources.
Yeah.
So they are creating it, and it is a mixture of artificial intelligence, smart cities, and zero carbon footprint.
Fantastic. Look, I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. It is such an important relationship for India at so many levels. There's a historic aspect of all of this, but there's also the futuristic relationship, and of course trade and the economy center to it all. Thank you very much for being with us. For the moment, it's time for this short break.